Yeah, I think he fits everywhere.
Southampton have had a Ruben already as well, so they've got pedigree there. So yeah, definitely. Really, this episode has all really been leading up to this, which is an incredible piece of football data journalism. And it comes from Conor McCarthy. This is just astonishing. He has analysed 68,000 throw-ins using data from Opta and StatsBomb.
Why?
And for the purpose of finding out which teams and players steal the biggest distance when taking throw-ins. Because as we know, it's a huge bugbear of fans at actual matches, and also people on MHD are constantly banging on about players who sort of creep up the line with the throw-in and steal yards to the point where it becomes a little bit awkward and the referee doesn't get involved, and then the referee finally does get involved and people wonder what the threshold is. So we're digging into that here, and well, he's used the event data from Opta and StatsBomb to find out where the ball went out of play and where it went back in from the throw-in. They plot this like a coordinate, and the lovely little technicality about this, Dave, is that the only season that StatsBomb have the full data for all of this for free is 2015-16. So he can tell you who stole the most yards at throw-ins in the Premier League in 2015-16 specifically.
Okay.
Any guesses?
Pulis was around then?
Interesting guess. I can tell you that Tony Pulis' West Brom stole the most distance at throw-ins that season in the Premier League of 3.75 metres per throw-in. That's 1.13 metres more than the next team, that's Sunderland.
Wow.
That's a lot. Nick, 3.75 metres, what's that in yards? What, 3 and a bit? That's probably about the distance where the crowd would start to grumble, depending on how slowly the creep happens.
That feels to me exactly the distance between someone who is obviously and kind of nakedly trying to steal yards, is then told to go back by the ref, but obviously doesn't go the full amount back.
3.75 metres is 4.1 yards.
Oh, right. Yeah, we should have converted this all to yards and stat padded it, definitely. So that's more than a square of the pitch as it's cut.
Yeah.
So that's going to be noticeable. I mean, every human being should measure these things in squares of pitches. This is really interesting. But let's drill down into it even further. Nick, do you want to guess which player stole the most distance at throw-ins in the 2015-16 Premier League season? Clue for you, he did not play for Tony Pulis' West Brom.
Right, so it's going to be, presumably this is going to be a fullback.
Interesting. Yes is the answer.
Danny Simpson.
Not a million miles away, really. Fellow former Manchester United youngster, Phil Bardsley of Stoke. Get this. He stole 6.47 metres per throw-in. Throw-in!
Wow. The fullback is always going to be able to steal more because they're more likely to be taking throws in their own half and people don't care as much there.
But I think there's a kind of bell curve to caring about the distance that players steal at throw-ins, because if you do it high up the pitch, then it's going to be immediately, wow, you're getting closer to our goal. If you do it in the middle of the pitch, maybe less so. But in your defensive position, if you're stealing more yards, it's getting you out of trouble. So people are going to be annoyed more. So there's a sweet spot where you can get away with it. Maybe that's where he was taking his throw-ins. Yeah. 6.5 metres.
That's over 7 yards.
2 and a bit squares. So Dave, this isn't purely about arrogant fullbacks. In second place for thieving throw-in yards, it's Riyad Mahrez of Leicester City. In their title-winning season, no less. 6.39 metres per throw. What was he up to?
Yeah, you can't imagine him taking the throws, particularly for that team as well, who were quite direct. I don't recall them being quick throw-in merchants, and indeed, if they were quick throw-in merchants, you're not going to be stealing 6.39 metres per time, are you? So
the scenario I've got in my head here, Nick, is the ball going out, Mahrez sort of trundling over to go and get it from the sort of AstroTurf track around the side, and then just absent-mindedly doing a sort of V run and going diagonally out and not really doing it deliberately, just absent-mindedly going, well, is this fine? Is this all right? And ref just going, yeah, get on with it, will ya? Come on.
I don't know. I can really clearly picture him for some reason doing the couple of skips and then stopping and then a couple more skips and then throwing it.
All right. Yeah, he's quite a skippy player, isn't he? So maybe that could lend itself
Am I just imagining it because we're doing this ludicrous exercise? But did he have like a really weird, loopy, high, long throw, Mahrez?
No idea.
I don't know whether you've just inceptioned that into my head, but yeah, I'm going to go yes. He definitely picture him doing that.
I mean, on that tangent, I can tell you that John Stones had the longest average throw that season of 33 metres, and Tottenham had the longest average throw in the Premier League in 2015-16, according to data journalist
Stones
Conor
still at
McCarthy.
Everton then?
Oh, you might have been actually. What do I keep thinking? This is annoying. Right, so that's that. So, but this Riyad Mahrez Leicester City thing is interesting. Could this be the scandal that underpins Leicester City's title-winning season? Could this be an asterisk next to their Premier League title win? Riyad Mahrez stealing 6.39 metres per throw.
We've got to go back through it all.
Who did finish? Tom actually finished second in that season, or did they? Was it up with Arsenal? Did Arsenal overtake them? Anyway, if it was Tottenham, you were going to get sort of passive aggressive press conferences by Pochettino saying, "Well, maybe I'll get my title, and they'll pay me my bonus."
Leicester drafting in Lord Panic.
Not beyond the Arsenal fans to go back and pick through this stuff after either. Come on, they've got enough on their plate at the moment without throwing this their way.
But it goes even further. This is amazing. Right, who won the Champions League in 2003-2004, Nick?
That was Porto.
Jose Mourinho's Porto, no less. One of the masters of the dark arts, Jose Mourinho. Conor McCarthy got hold of the stats bomb data from the Champions League final, Porto against Monaco in 2004. Porto stole 9 metres per throw-in in the final.
Wow. When you started this off, I thought this was going to be a brief item, and even then a complete waste of time, but I'm in.
Conor McCarthy has blown this wide open. Dave, Nuno Valente alone stole 84.5 metres during that final.
Wow.
That's almost the entire length of the pitch. By himself.
I suppose, if you think about it, so this data, as you said, so they plotted the point at which the precise point at which the ball leaves the field of play. In our heads, we're kind of thinking that these players are shuffling up from that point and kind of maybe, going back and forth.
That would be the classic steal, right? Yeah.
But I reckon the start point I reckon they're stealing a few yards before they've even got onto the radar of the ref.
Right.
A referee or a lino is probably not always getting it precisely right. Sort of, there. Yeah, just there.
Yeah, what degree of tolerance are we talking here? 2 yards?
Yeah.
Before the ref even starts to think about it?
I think so.
Yeah, it's not super precise, but yeah, wow, incredible work from Conor McCarthy, Nick.
It also makes more sense for that kind of thing to happen at a neutral venue, because you're possibly less likely to have opposition fans mithering the referee about someone, stealing a few yards.
The idea of Mourinho being behind it, Dave, is so seductive to me.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
It'll be in a book. It'll be in a book in 20 years' time. I instructed Nuno Valente. I told him before the game, I collared him just before we went out. I said, just try and steal as many yards as you can. This could be key. What I'm doing now is looking at very brief highlights of the final to see if any Porto goal came from throw-in. No. Paulo Ferreira cross for the first. Breakaway, centre of the pitch for the second. And for the third. So didn't materially affect the result, but who knows how much it have chipped away at the Monegasque confidence, Dave?
That's the thing, because you don't steal yards as much on a long throw, I don't think, because you go back, you go away from the pitch.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not trying to gain territory. You're more focused on getting your run up right, I think. If Conor wants to carry on going through the data, have a look at the long throwers. I bet Delap's right down the bottom of this. If you could go back and see Delap, I bet he's not stealing any yards. He doesn't need to.
Yeah. Absolutely. He's because he's got that 2-year-old wiping his towel for him. Arsenal fans can't get too excited though, Nick, because I can tell you that StatsBomb have all the throw-in data for 2003-2004 as well, because they did a big stat pack about the Invincible season. So I've got all the data for Arsenal's throw-ins. Lauren stole the most for Arsenal that season, but wasn't troubling the league's top thievers, so put that to rest. Anyway, it's time for Keys and Grey Corner.